This is a prime-time news bulletin here on Joy News on Multi TV. Coming up, pressure group AFAG threatens mass demonstrations as it demands government scrap the sale of merchant bank to Fortis equity fund. Meanwhile, Fortis has been engaging the media on why it believes it has a better rescue plan for the distressed bank. New Adenta MCE nominee fails to win confirmation vote. Stephen Ntim joins race for national chairmanship of the New Patriotic Party with a pledge to ensure victory in 2016. And latest Afrobarometer says majority of Ghanaians say they are unaware how government uses resources from the extractive sector. We also have business for Showbiz and international news, all coming up in the next 60 minutes.
News at 8 with Israel Lai.
Pressure Group Alliance for Accountable Governance, AFAG, is threatening mass action to stop the sale of merchant bank to Fortis. At a news conference on Wednesday, AFAG asked President Mahama to set up an inquiry into the transaction to expose what it believes to be the underhand dealings in the sale.
Chairperson of AFAG, Dr. Nana Ayew Efriye, at the briefing in Accra, called for the entire takeover process to be halted.
What we need now is a public inquiry into the sale of Merchant Bank. It's a convolution of issues, and we think that it will be so much simple, like you brought the Judgment Debt Commissioner to work. You can let us do a public inquiry into this issue to ascertain why at all the entity must be sold. If the president and his people don't watch out, there's going to be a mass action. Then based upon the feedback where we are gathered, we are more than determined for a showdown.
He condemned the transaction, explaining that, considering the various offers that have come up, Merchant Bank would be better off in the hands of South African suitors who first came up.
First Rand Bank is the second largest bank in South Africa. Fortis is a ghost company without any working history in the country. We're raising questions which will pertain to morality. The First Rand Bank through the Rand Merchant Bank has over 600 million USD investment in Ghana infrastructure and 1.6 billion USD in Nigeria. What of Fortis, the ghost bank?
AFAG is also questioning the involvement of Tony Lita, who was the president's lawyer in the recent election petition. They say is also representing engineers and planners, the largest debtors of Merchant Bank and at the same time Fortis.
One should not be a lawyer to see to the open conflict of interest surrounding this much compromised lawyer. How on earth can you be the lawyer to the president, his brother Ibrahim Mahama, the ghost company Fortis, and at the same time not seeing anything wrong with submitting a petition to the president asking him to waive Ibrahim Mahama's debt to Merchant Bank? This wicked act against the people of Ghana by Tony Lita will never escape the vengeance by the people at the right time.
AFAG is also demanding the removal of the Director General of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, who holds majority shares in the bank on behalf of the state and the governor of the Bank of Ghana. They also called for the questioning of the former MD of the Merchant Bank, whom they allege granted Ibrahim Mahama the loan without approval from its board.
In another development, lawyers for Andrea Wuni, who is challenging the sale of Merchant Bank to private equity firm Fortis, are contemplating contempt charges against Fortis following its appointment of 6 persons to the board of the bank Wednesday, even though the case against the transaction was pending before the High Court. The equity firm announced 6 persons, including Issa Anafuri, Dr. Alhassan Idrisu, Afutu Datefiu, and Ernest Asare, have been appointed to the board. Egbe Febu, lead lawyer for the executive director of the Center for Freedom and Accuracy, told Joy News the action of the equity firm, if proved, amounts to disrespecting the legal processes currently going on at the court, and that they will be left with no option than to bring contempt charges against Fortis. He bases his action on the principle of the law of contempt. He states that parties in a case must not take or be seen to be taking decisions that will inure to their interest and usurp the power and the authority of the court. We'll continue to keep an eye on this story, but still to come, we're going to be speaking to George Rafi, who was at a meeting today at Fortis or called by Fortis to explain or tell their side of the story. Now, the Judgment Debt Commission appears to have hit a snag in its attempt to unravel yet another judgment debt mystery, this time relating to the payment of claims of owners of farmlands flooded during the construction of the Volta Lake. This was after the Registrar General's Department said it had no records on the firm of chartered surveyors Kojo Abon & Co., which was involved in processing and facilitating the payment of compensation to affected persons. A state attorney at the department, William Harm, explained the records it has so far cited lists the firm as a private entity.
My Lord, I did not get all the documents. I got documents for the second business entity, which is Kojo Aban Enterprise. However, Kojo Aban Company, Chartered Surveyors, a thorough search in the department did not result in the files being made available for submission to this commission. So I tried to get a printout from the registration of business software which captures data on companies that are registered. Unfortunately, almost all the data pertaining to that company has been deleted.
The sole Commissioner, Justice Yao Apewu, indicated he was unhappy about the department's inability to trace the company's records.
So who supervises? How can the Registrar General check all these things? Because I've realized that some of the companies don't comply with what they are supposed even to submit some returns to your office annually, and these things are not done. You are aware of that?
Yes, I'm aware of some of the challenges at the department. Yes, my Lord.
Yes, serious, very serious challenges. So it is very difficult to track all the companies that we have in the system who are supposed to even pay taxes to the state.
But the Registrar General's Department representative explained a re-registration process had already started to correct some of the deficiencies in the system.
We are working in conjunction with GRA and the banking environment. So in that regard, there has been an interest and an increase in companies complying with such directive, and through that we are now in a position to track them, because now not only do the companies but the shareholders and directors also have to come up with what they call a TIN number, a tax identification number issued by GRA. So this current relationship between the Registrar General and GRA is ensuring that we can track business transactions and the attendant compliance with the company's code.
Seth Mensah Dumega and Emmanuel Nofori also appeared before the commission to answer questions on a judgment debt which had accrued from a 32-acre land that was specifically acquired by government for the construction of bungalows for the Jazikine District Assembly. The suit, which originally ended up as a judgment debt of 42,000 Ghana cedis in July 2008, has now accumulated interest and now stands at 946,000 Ghana cedis yet to be paid.
Right, we return to our earlier story on the Fortis attempt or Fortis' takeover of Merchant Bank. Fortis maintains it has the best offer and rescue plan for Merchant Bank. The company stated its case when it engaged a section of the media. Joy News' George Rafi was there, and he joins me with details of the interaction. Good evening to you, George. Israel. So what is it the managers or directors of Fortis have been telling you about, or have been telling you, I mean yourself and the other colleagues, media colleagues, about what it is that they have that is the best available?
You know, Israel, there have been questions about whether what they presented to SNIT was the best deal. Their argument was really trying to compare their deal and what First Round put forward.
What is their deal as stated by them?
Well, Israel, they are saying that, listen, they are going to put in 90 million Ghana cedis in the bank to help recapitalize the bank and ensure that they have enough capital on their books.
What is the consideration for the purchase?
Well, basically, their fact is that they are a private equity firm, and their plan as a company is to always go into institutions that are having problems. And that is why they saw Merchant Bank as an institution that has a problem, and they can go in and recapitalize the institution because the prospects are good. And the industry people know that Merchant Bank is indeed a strong asset that everybody wants to go for.
Okay, so they're going into the bank to rescue it, But at what price?
Because
they're talking about the prospects being good.
That is
if the prospects are good, it means they're going there with interest. I mean, intending that they're going to make some money off it.
Obviously.
So what are they putting on the table to allow them to take those interests?
Obviously, Israel, when you go through the numbers of the commercial banks, it's an area where they are making the super abnormal profits. And therefore, banking is always a good business in Ghana. That is why everybody wants to go in for the universal banking license. And therefore...
So what are they putting on the table?
They are putting 90 million Ghana cedis in return.
So this 90 million Ghana cedis for?
For Merchant Bank.
For Merchant Bank.
In return for a 90% stake in the bank. Now, the argument is that what first round was putting forward, that is the about 174, we still see SNIT putting in an additional 240-something Ghana cedis as shareholder of the bank. Now, with their proposal, SNIT doesn't need to do that. In addition, SNIT is going to get 10% stake in the bank and an additional stake if they are able to recover the bad debt, which we put at around 240 million Ghana cedis. So, making this case at the meeting, they are saying that, listen, look at the numbers. Look at what we are putting forward. Our deal is the best deal.
Okay, so from what you're saying, I get it. That's the 90 million that they're paying for the 90% shares is better than the 174 million that first round was offering, because unlike in the first round case, they don't have, or SNIT doesn't have to inject any more money into the bank.
No, as in the Fortis case of the Fortis, they don't have to inject any additional capital.
But in the case of first round,
and that is what they are saying, Israel. Let's put that on record, that is what they are saying. We've not heard the side of first round, whether indeed the facts that have been put out is actually the case.
Now, there's this contentious issue too about whether the bank has indeed taken over and is now in full control, as in Fortis, is now in full control of Merchant Bank. Were they able to address that? Because the Bank of Ghana, as far as we know, says, no, we haven't given them the final blessing.
Well, to me, or personally, I don't think that issue was really addressed personally.
But did it come up?
It came up. It was a serious, it became a banter really between me and one of the officials. George, as far as we are concerned, we have completed the takeover because we have met all the conditions. Have you secured the final approval from the Bank of Ghana? George, there isn't anything like a final approval. But I said, wow, because I know that what you got from the Bank of Ghana was a provisional license and not a final approval. So you can't say that. So still, we've not been able to establish whether they have secured the final approval from the Bank of Ghana, because we know in these processes you go through stages, finish all the conditions, go back to the regulator, and they let them review all the conditions before they say that, okay, Israel, good job done, go ahead. But what we understand is that this is an agreement reached between SNIT and Fortis. On the shareholder level, they've done nothing wrong, but the regulator needs to extend their blessing to whatever transaction that has taken place.
Okay, thank you very much. That was George Rafi. He's with Joy News, and he was bringing us up to speed as to claims by Fortis that they're saying that they have the best deal on the table. In other news, the Adenta Municipal Assembly could not confirm a new municipal chief executive nominated by President John Mahama. Though Gifty Emefa Tete Nate got 10 of the 18 votes, she was unable to make the 2/3 a nominee needed to be confirmed. Gifty Andoapia witnessed the voting process and has come through with this report.
Gifty Emefa Nate was nominated by President Mahama after the outgoing MCE Kakra Van Leer failed to obtain the required vote on 2 occasions. The MCE's confirmation vote was preceded by the election of a new presiding member, Gladys Nadu Tete. The president's nominee, however, failed to make the mark.
As the presiding officer responsible for supervising this election, I wish to indicate that the nominee has not been confirmed.
The new presiding member told Joy News there would be another attempt to get the MCE approved in 10 days.
What it means is that we'll come back in 10 days to either confirm it or otherwise. So let's hope and see. I guess there are going to be a series of consultations. Probably things will not go down well with some people. When after consultations, well, we could come back in 10 days and it could go through.
things did not go through, but
she expected her to get 12, to be confirmed, but unfortunately she did not get. So we'll have to come back in 10 days' time. And she got more than 50%. And per the standing orders, she'll have to come back to get the 65%.
And in 10 days, if you come and she still doesn't make it, what happens?
The president will have to either reappoint her or withdraw her.
The rejection of the president's nominees speak to a seeming division among assembly members here. There has been agitation amongst the members about the continued stay in office of the outgoing MCE, Kakra Van Leer, who had insisted she was yet to be officially notified to leave office. But Municipal Coordinating Director Gabriel Dari says Madame Van Leer, who has since vacated the position, had to follow due process.
The process is that it is the president who appoints the MCE. So in that situation, yes, the district will report to the Regional Coordinating Council through to the local government service to the presidency. And it is at the presidency that the next action will be initiated and communicated same way through to the district assembly. Because the process had to be gone through. She's been officially informed and she has handed over notes to the regional minister.
Madam Giftinati, who declined to speak on record, says she'll use the 10 days to hopefully win over more of the assembly members by convincing them with her plans for the municipality.
The Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority in the Volta region has within the last 3 weeks intercepted over 2 tons of substances suspected to be Indian hemp. The substances were found on 2 trucks and 10 passenger vehicles believed to be heading to Accra. The stash is said to be worth 200,000 Ghana cedis.
Briefing the media, Samuel Klu explained that around 9 p.m. on 26 November, a truck with registration number GE9311-2010 was loaded with 200 bags of charcoal. Officers at the Sikuma barrier on their normal duty stopped the vehicle and during interrogation decided to offload all the charcoal bags and carry out a check on them. Out of the 200 bags of charcoal, the officers discovered 21 bags of substances suspected to be Indian hemp. However, in the process of offloading the truck, the driver absconded. In a similar situation, a vehicle with registration number ER1795X was stopped by officers at the same barrier to carry out checks, but the driver refused to get down, stating that the items in the truck were agrochemicals. Upon sensing danger, he decided to speed off. 3 tires of the vehicle were shot, but he managed to drive for about 15 kilometers, abandoned the vehicle somewhere around Abutia, Novisi, and bolted. 12 bags of Indian hemp weighing 450 kilograms were found in the trunk of the car. 275 kilograms of substances suspected to be Indian hemp were also found on commercial vehicles within the last 3 weeks. Some were packed in Milo cartons and traveling bags. Chief Revenue Officer General Duties William Afidu cautioned all partaking in the illegal business to be wary. He, however, called on the general public to be whistleblowers and expose any individual they have identified engaging in smuggling of narcotics.
We also want to appeal to those living in the communities where these drugs are grown, where this weed is grown, that they should feel free and come and give us the information so that we can pursue these people. We are in this bad business together. When it is arrested outside, it gives Ghana a bad name, a bad image. So let us take it upon ourselves that we want to clean this bad name. So they should feel free and come forward and give us the information. We want to assure them that their identity will be kept secret.
Komlado's report from the Volta region.
We have more news coming up after the break. Stay tuned. Former National Vice Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Stephen Ntim, has pledged to lead the party to win the 2016 election if elected chairman. He made the pledge at a news conference to officially launch its campaign and strategies to win the national chairmanship position of the New Patriotic Party.
The former vice chairman for the MPP says he believes with his experience he would bring the party to power in the next general elections, stressing on his track records of leading the party to win elections.
I have the requisite experience to steer the affairs of the party to win power in 2016. It is on record, and it is known to all party faithful, that I, Stephen Tim, crisscrossed the length and breadth of this country between 2001 and 2005 to win power for the NPP. The new patriotic party must not disappoint the good people of Ghana again by losing the 2016 general elections. For this reason, it is imperative that we elect party leaders who have what it takes to win elections.
He added he has rebranded himself as a unifier and will not use his position to push the agenda of anybody in the party, but will rather work closely with party members.
At a time when factionalism poses such a serious threat to party unity, I am going to dedicate myself to the effort at unifying the party. After all is said and done, ladies and gentlemen, the MPP, we are still one big political family. And this being an intra-party contest, we will have to come together again and work in tandem to ensure victory in the 2016 elections.
Stephen Intim added that as a system engineer, he will pursue an increasing usage of technology in running the affairs of the party in areas such as database management, gradual dissemination of internet usage, and election monitoring. Stephen Intim promised the party his campaign will be devoid of insults. This will be his third attempt and will be challenging lawyer Ayikwe Otu and Paul Afoko. Incumbent chairman Jake Obechebi Lamte is yet to declare his intentions to run again. Matilda Wemega's report for Joy News.
Parliament has approved of several budget allocations for some of the ministries and government agencies, including 2,378,174 Ghana cedis for the National Labour Commission. Members were hopeful that subvention to the NLC, in particular, will tackle industrial arrest and avert strikes.
For KEEA, Dr. Stephen Nanatu Arthur was of the opinion the non-availability of funds for the commission contributed to the numerous strikes, a stance supported by Kweku Ajimamenu, MP for Doma Central.
As a nation, Mr. Speaker, it is important to begin to quantify total loss of productivity hours due to industrial strikes. This one realized we all recognize the strategic role of the National Labour Commission.
I think this year marks one of the years we may have recorded the largest number of sit-downs and strikes, and I'm beginning to believe that since their work was sort of incapacitated by the non-release of the amounts allocated, it will have had some input into the number of strikes that we had.
The majority leader, in thanking members for approving the NLC's allocation, explained that the chaos on the labour front goes beyond the commission being under-resourced.
It is not for want of the amount of the appropriation in 2013 that was not made available that the industrial actions in those agencies took place. I am saying this because the demands of the labour front are very serious and very varied. And if we were to limit it to what doesn't exist, that any industrial action has taken place because the Labour Commission did not get its releases, I guess it will be very far from the truth. So I just wanted to correct that impression.
Other budgetary allocations, such as the 10 million Ghana cedis to the Ministry of Information and Media Relations, were also approved by the House.
There's been a sharp rise in waterborne diseases among residents of Drobonto in the Setra From Plains district of the Ashanti region, despite the provision of boreholes there. Residents in the mainly farming community are said to prefer sharing the same water source as their cattle because they complain borehole water is salty. Mohammed Nuruddin visited the area and filed this report.
The newly created district lacks good roads, electricity, no hospitals and senior high schools. Even though the district's capital, Drobonso, has access to boreholes, some of them are broken down. But even with the functional ones, people of the area complain it is salty. They continue to fetch water from Afram, Waterborne and Abrifa streams, despite being provided with these boreholes. This is one of the streams residents of the community use. While some were busily washing their clothes and their bicycles here, others could be seen drinking the stream water, indifferent to the pollution taking place close by.
That can cause disease.
Some of the common diseases afflicting the residents, especially children, include Buruli ulcer, diarrhea and bilharzia. With support of the District Health Directorate of Kumewu, victims are treated at the Agugu Government Hospital, several minutes drive from the district capital, Drobonso. Assemblyman for Drobonso, Thomas Edu, says the situation leaves much to be desired. Even though there is no available data on these conditions, health officials are worried over the situation. District Health Director Elizabeth Safo tells Joy News her outfit faces an extraordinary task of fighting the menace, regardless of intense public education.
We have business news coming up next.
Well, so today in business, we look at some issues in the textile industry as well as the Afrobarometer report. I'm Abigail Adumakwenchi. Now, first off, Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, Nilante Vanderpoy, has charged the various unions in the textile industry to come up with their own assessment of the operations of the task force clamping down on pirated textiles in the next 2 weeks. At a meeting with stakeholders, he said the various reports which should reach him in the next 2 weeks will inform Parliament's deliberations on streamlining the task force work. Meanwhile, the CID and National Security, according to the Deputy Minister, will conduct random checks on pirated textile prints on the market in the absence of the task force.
The meeting between the Deputy Trade Minister, the Anti-Pirated Textiles Task Force and stakeholders in the textile industry forms part of processes to review the operations of the task force after government announced the suspension of the activities following complaints of abuse against traders. The task force, however, denies the allegations against them.
If there's a way out, what I would suggest we do is that anytime the task force is going to the market, we should have a video coverage. So that nobody will say he has been beaten or somebody has taken forcefully from them, if eventually we have to go. At times you go and the traders will physically fight, especially those who have the pirated textiles. So far, to me, when we started, most of the traders felt that it wasn't a good business for them to do because we always go to the market.
The textile workers are meanwhile all for the operations of the task force because they say its operations assure them their jobs are safe.
Yes, they may have problems, but they also, we've taken time to educate them to the extent that even nationwide outreach program to even educate the customs officers to know how to, to identify the fake ones and all that. And so it is no secret. But each time we meet them, so they don't know. They don't know. So how many times do you want us to engage you or to educate you? What we want to see is the sustenance of the task force.
Though the traders appreciate the work of the task force, they say the problem goes beyond confiscating the prints on the market.
It is the importers in Togo that is doing this thing. The importers here in Ghana that import through the Tema ports, their goods go through vetting, of which Ministry of Trade, GSA, and then the textile manufacturers are there. They look at the designs and they vet it. If it's not for anybody, they allow you to bring it in. But because there have been a discrimination in terms of taxes, that is how we see it. Because we believe that we are paying higher taxes, especially when we bring the goods through the thermal ports. And the import from the borders are so cheap. So we are suggesting that, look, the task force should really look at the point of entry. That is where the problem is coming from.
The Deputy Minister of Trade, Neil van der Poy, after hearing the various views, concluded the work of the task force will have to be reviewed.
We're going to give ourselves a period of 2 weeks to work on the various petitions and then fashion out common denominators. And then we'll call the general body again to look at the issues. Within a month, we are supposed to give our decision, final decision on this issue to the minister for him to forward it to cabinet. We've informed the police, especially the CID, and they'll be doing what we call random moves into the markets. We also have national security cooperating with that. So in the interim, we are not going to sleep.
He, however, called on the textile manufacturing firms to go ahead and prosecute importers of pirated textiles as it is against the law. Well, away from that, Moody's Investor Service changed to negative from stable its outlook on 2 deposit ratings of Ghana Commercial Bank, namely the local currency long-term deposit ratings and the foreign currency deposit ratings. Concurrently, the deposit ratings and the standalone bank financial strength rating were affirmed. A statement from Moody's explains the downgrade follows the change in the outlook on the government of Ghana's bond rating to negative on December 5 and reflect the risk of further weakening in government's capacity to support the bank in case of need, as well as GCB's high exposure to government securities, which links the bank's standalone credit worthiness to that of the sovereign. The statement adds that while Moody's currently believes that the government's capacity and commitment to support Ghana Commercial Bank warrants a one-notch systemic support uplift in the bank's deposit ratings, a downgrade of the government debt rating would prompt Moody's to reassess this one-notch rating uplift. Well, the latest Afrobarometer report by the Center for Democratic Development indicates 68% of Ghanaians do not know how government uses revenues from the extractive industry. The report further reveals a high official impunity in the country, as 44% of Ghanaian officials go unpunished for committing criminal offences. The new Afrobarometer report discloses findings on a survey conducted in 22 out of 34 African oil and mineral producing countries that derive 8 to 25% of their GDP from the extractive industry. 62% of the sampled countries said it is difficult to track the use of minerals and oil revenues by government, a situation which makes it impossible for them to assess how effectively the resources are used for economic growth. The citizens of Guinea were found to be the most uninformed about the use of the resources.
We come up with a finding that says that there's a lot of impunity in those countries. And that's why we also find that in those same countries, there's a lot of opacity in government. We need to do a lot of work in improving government's commitment to rule of law and government commitment to making budgets and expenditures more open. And that these are the kinds of things we need to do in order to be able to manage our extractive resources prudently.
Although in Ghana, the Finance Ministry publishes reports on the use of oil revenues, education on those publications remains low. The report indicates 65% of the sample says the media is playing its watchdog role effectively, but they recommend the Ghanaian media especially to do a lot more education on the use of revenues in the extractive sector.
How often do you do stories that will inform people about how taxes and revenues are used? When you do it, how do you frame it? And what space does it occupy on the news agenda? And do you follow up on it? And it's only if you do this consistently that there will be traction in the minds of people. I bet you if you ask Ghanaians today, you said the word merchant bank, everybody or most people will have an opinion. And that's because it's been on the news agenda everywhere for a long time. I'm not so sure that we treat stories like this in a similar manner.
For civil society groups, the information made available by government on the sector should be used to demand accountability.
Ghana is one of those countries that you can say there's a lot of transparency. At least in the oil and gas sector, you have a law, which quite a progressive law, very rigorous provisions for the Ministry of Finance, the Bank of Ghana. It sets up a Citizens Public Interest and Accountability Committee to provide information. I think the challenge is that we need to move beyond just access to information and transparency, to using this information to demand accountability from those who are responsible. Otherwise, just staying at the point of transparency alone is not going to translate into improving in the service delivery.
The Center for Democratic Development also released another report showing that over 50% of citizens in the 34 countries sampled rate their government poorly on the provision of basic services such as water, sanitation and the delivery of reliable power supply, while education and basic health service delivery are significantly better.
Well, do log on to My Door Online for more business stories. I'm Abigail Adumakwenchi. Sports is up next.
Camp because Coach Max Okonedo has named the 28-month squad to begin preparations for next year's African Nations Championship in South Africa. One second-tier player, Joseph Lawe of Tema Youth, made the squad dominated by Premier League players. The local Black Stars will begin camp, or actually start camping 6 days at the M Plaza Hotel in Accra, and are paired in Group C with Libya, Ethiopia, Congo for the 16-nation tournament to be staged in South Africa on the 11th of January through to the 1st of February 2014. Let's do some local news here, but still with football. And former Premier League champions Brecum Chelsea were not left out of the busy transfer window, which closed 2 days ago. Brecum Chelsea actually beefed up their squad with the league and actually are making sure that they have the league and continental challenge in sight. And they managed to put in there the former Asante Kotoko winger Ofosu Mikie, whose name is actually high on that list. Former Asante Kotoko winger Ofosu Mikie has signed for Brecum Chelsea and heads a list of 5 new recruits for the second round of the season. Ofosu was released by the Porcupine Warriors after he was deemed surplus to requirements by head coach Masao Didi Dramani prior to the start of the current season. He is joined by striker Prince Apia, who left the Buswa Dwarfs following the expiration of his contract with the Cape Coast club. Nigerian midfielder Lawrence Duru Rotam, centre-back Yusuf Ali from Midyama FC, and XD international left-back Jefta Josiah Kofi. Meanwhile, Premier League outfits Ebuswa Dwarfs have confirmed former player Rashid Idi as the club's new substantive head coach. The decision by the club's hierarchy to appoint Idi was taken after previous head coach Professor J.K. Minta asked to go on sick leave to surgically correct a knee problem abroad. Idi, until appointment, was the club's assistant coach. Right, we told you about the fact that we had the exclusive rights to the FIFA Club World Cup. It's actually underway right now. 2 teams in it is Auckland City up against Raja Casablanca, currently live on the Joy Sports channel and Multi TV. All you need to do probably after news, you can quickly get there and enjoy that particular game. More of this coming your way. We are bringing you everything in this particular championship. There are great teams like Bayern Munich, Atletico Mineiro and the like would all be in that particular competition. So make sure you watch it. So as it stands now, Raja Casablanca are leading by 1-0 against Auckland City. Later on, we get to find out the likes of Bayern Munich and the rest joining that.
Auckland who are going to make the first substitution of the game as well. The player they will bring on will be an Argentine, Emiliano Tade.
All right, so you know definitely what to do. On Saturday, there's going to be another game. Make sure that you join us for that. Now, though, let's talk about the UEFA Champions League. And again, my heart should bleed like yours should, because Kwajo Samoa's Juventus have been kicked out of the UEFA Champions League because they lost to Galatasaray this afternoon. Remember yesterday we told you about the game that was snowed off it actually started and was played later this afternoon. Juventus lost by 1-0. Schneider getting the goal for them. Now, let's quickly look at the games that are ongoing. A number of them really in it. So that's what I was talking about. Schneider getting the goal and sending Juventus out. Let's get into Group E now. This game is currently underway. Chelsea lead still Bucharesti by 1-0. They've already qualified, yes. It's an own goal. That's put Chelsea in front. Now, Kevin Prince Boateng is actually supposed to feature for Schalke 04, and he is currently goalless between themselves and Basel. They really need to get a win here if they have to qualify to the next stage there. We're getting to Group F. It's also a tight one there. Marseille drawing 1-0 with Borussia Dortmund out there. And we get into it. Napoli also drawing with Arsenal. Arsenal are safe, but between Borussia Dortmund and Napoli, they need to sort themselves out. And it's going to be very, very tight out there. We're getting to Group G there. Atletico Madrid, they have been simply ominous this season. There's no way coming back. They are simply flying, and they are beating FC Porto by 2 goals. They haven't won all games in that particular one. Austria Wiener drawing 1-0 with Zenit St. Petersburg. Let's now find out what's happening with Barcelona, because there's quite a lot happening in that particular group. The AC Milan drawing goalless with Ajax. They're already through there. But Barcelona leading Celtic by 4-0. Neymar, Gerard Piqué and the likes on the score sheet for Barcelona. This is how it's looking. I'm sure after all these games we'll give you an idea of who and who have qualified to the next stage of the competition. Right, so that'll be all for sports. Let me remind you again, the FIFA Club World Cup is live on the Joy Sports channel on Multi TV. Join us there. The game between Raja and Auckland is 1-0. Till then, Israel will be joining us with some more news. Have a good evening.
As to how the country could take a leaf from its ideals, there was a suggestion for an all-inclusive government with John Mahama as president and Nanado as a cabinet minister, whilst another likened the MPP flag bearer to Mandela because of the way he accepted the Supreme Court's verdict on the election petition.
Mr. Mandela was an embodiment of reconciliation, presiding over the transition from apartheid minority rule to a multicultural democracy. Mandela saw national reconciliation as a primary task of his presidency.
The lessons that Mandela imparts to Africans, indeed to the world, are selflessness, humility, fairness, resilience, reconciliation, dialogue, consensus building, leadership by example and not by mere rhetoric, as many African leaders do. Pretense.
For example, like President John Dramani Mahama, in a seat of government. And then you can equally have, Mr. Speaker, no, I'm passionate about this appeal. Or where you can even have as the president or the chairman of the Council of State in a person like Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Came a time that it took an individual's effort, decision, to bring unity, to bring about true reconciliation, and to bring about peace.
That's it for international news. Work Tonight starts airing the second season of its comedy talent show, Sekwakwa. The show, which seeks to unearth comic talents, will run for approximately 15 weeks on air until a winner eventually emerges.
Hello.
Hi.
Masa, hello, bro, for doing the same.
Hello, bro, for doing. What to say?
What to say? No.
The call for auditions for the second season of Sekwakwa attracted hundreds of people who travelled from various parts of the country. Their interest aroused by the 12,000 Ghana cedi cash prize up for grabs. But only the top 3 contestants will have the opportunity to share that money, even though evictees will walk away with some prizes. From 8 p.m. tonight, viewers will witness on Adom TV the audition process which led to the selection of the top 16 contestants for the show. Of course, some of them got the judges in stitches.
Now, Afropop singer Becca is set to repeat her annual ritual of treating her female fans to a night of exclusive entertainment at the Girl Talk concerts. According to organizers, this year's concert will be bigger than their previous editions. And that'll be all for Showbiz.